Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kyra and today is finally another inspired by video in collaboration with my beautiful friend Anya Stamper. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Or if you're new to this series, every month, allegedly, Anya and I either pick a person or something that inspires us and inspires the way we do our makeup, and we create a look inspired by that person, place, or thing. In the past, we've done a lot of Instagrammers and other YouTubers because we are doing this series in an effort to bring positivity and creativity back to the beauty community. So Anya came to me at the end of January, I believe it was, with the idea of just picking any old thing that inspires either one of us individually. And I thought that was a great idea. We did not do one in December, I don't believe, and we also didn't do an episode in January, and that's just like end of the year stuff, beginning of the year stuff, and we're also humans, so we live life. But I'm excited to get back into this series with Anya. I cannot wait. I have no idea if she picked a person, place, thing, time, era, what have you. So I cannot wait to watch her video. But today I am inspired by the 1940s makeup and the history behind that makeup. One thing you may not know about me as a person is that I'm actually a huge history buff. I'm going to try not to delve too deeply into the actual history during the era of 1940, but do know that 1940 to 1949 was the Second World War, so that really impacted the makeup that women wore, as well as the availability and the application of makeup. So I thought that would be fun. I'm into all things vintage and old school. I was probably born in the wrong decade, but let's go ahead and get some makeup on this face. So I'm going to have linked down in the description box for you a really beautiful article with beautiful pictures that I read in regards specifically to 1940s makeup and the history. And I'm also going to be inserting some pictures from that article, pictures of old makeup ads during the 1940s and things like that, because I just thought they were really cool. So overall, I want to say that in the 1940s, the look was classic and sophisticated, and it was also fresh, natural, and less is more, and I'm all about that life. So also wanted to say that in Europe at this time, most women were not able to get their hands on any makeup. The production of makeup had stopped completely because alcohol and petroleum were being used simply for the war effort. Whereas back in the US, women were very much encouraged to wear makeup. They were encouraged to wear makeup to work. And this was actually considered a morale booster, both for men and women during wartime. And so that's kind of the history behind what we're doing today. I'm not going to go over what I'm using in this video. I don't think that's important. I think the style of makeup and the history of the makeup is what's more important, but I will have everything listed down below, including the skincare and the nail polish that I used. So back in the 1940s, foundation was very thick. And had to be applied and then blended a whole bunch. They did not have beauty blenders. I actually didn't come across the information that said whether, like, what they used to apply foundation, to be honest. Only a few areas was I able to find out, like, what kind of tools they used, and I will definitely call that out as we go. But like I said, foundation was very thick, and most of them had a pinky hue to them. There was definitely not a ton of shades of foundation. So most women, what they did was used one of the foundation shades, which, like I said, tended to err a little bit on the pinky side, and then they used a powder that was closer to their skin tone, which I just found really interesting, to be honest. These days, you know, we are used to having so many more choices. I mean, obviously there's some brands that do foundation ranges better than others. And the other thing that I read was they frequently blended their makeup all the way down into their dress line, so that because the makeup didn't match their skin tone very well. And so far as I could tell, they did not wear concealer in the 1940s, but this girl needs it today. This is probably about the darkest that my eyes get. So since I didn't see anything about concealer, it makes me wonder if they did what honestly a lot of people still do, and that is just blending their foundation up under their eyes. Did they leave it blank? Like, what did they do if they didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days in a row? I don't know. Okay, let's talk powder. This is kind of crazy. So it says powder was applied with a large fluffy puff, and then a brush was used to dust away the excess. Like I said before, their foundations tended to be rather pink. So from what I understand, they used more yellowy or, you know, closer to their skin tone powders in order to sort of counteract the pinkness of the foundation. I don't have a big velour puff. Best I have is something like this. It's not going to be good for a loose powder, and loose powder is what they used. There did come to be pressed powder later in the 40s, but I tried to go with the methods and things like that that were predominant over most of the 40s. So I'm just going to be using a brush today. But one thing that I thought was really interesting is that they, like I said, used a big velour puff, or even a wool puff, it said, which I was like, I know wool can be soft, but let's assume that it probably really wasn't for a makeup application tool in the 1940s. But it said over and over again in this article that they applied it with a puff, and then they used an upward motion for buffing out the excess powder with the brush. And it said only brush down once to lay your, basically your peach fuzz on your face back down. I thought that was so interesting. And it sounded like, I mean, that they like took a huge puff, like the kind you would find in a body powder if you're old enough to remember buying scented body powders. But it sounds like they used something like that, like their face, and then took a brush and buffed it. So I don't know, I found it really interesting. Sounds like a lot of powder. I was gonna use my Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. I don't know if it's gonna work with this much powder. I was gonna use this because I don't have like a deeper tone of foundation enough that it would actually contour the face. I meant to talk about the foundation, where I said that they would use different colors of foundation to shape the face, both lighter and darker than their tone. And here these ladies were contouring, cream contouring back in the 1940s. So I wanted to use this as my darker foundation for sculpting, but I didn't. So I'm just gonna quickly go in with a really, really light contour, bronzer type situation with my Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow. It also said that they would use a darker powder for the same thing to look a little bit bronzed, especially movie stars in the era. And so part of me is like, well, they were using bronzer too. I just think that is so cool. It's so funny how, you know, like I never even used bronzer until I started watching YouTube at the end of 2017, like BeauTube. And so it really tickled. And so, you know, I started learning about bronzer. That was one of the first things I ran out and bought, was my number 7 Match Made bronzer. in caramel, and I still have that, and I have a crap ton of pan on it, but that was my first bronzer. But here these ladies were back in the 1940s bronzing up a little bit. They described it as a sun-kissed powder shade. Okay, so for blush, or as they called it in the 1940s, rouge, it was what they called a moist rouge, but we'll just call it what it is, and that is a cream rouge or blushing product. So for that, I thought of none other than this ColourPop Super Shock Chic. This is the shade Between the Sheets. I hit pan on this yesterday and then it disappeared again because, you know, it's kind of putty-like. But anyways, so it says that rouge was applied to the center and brushed up and out to the cheekbones, and it was usually a cream. This was used sparingly and not a lot of shades were available. It said mostly like rosy tones. So we're gonna try hard today to do that because I love me some blush, and not applying a lot of blush is very hard for me. Especially when I'm like not all bronzed and whatnot. So it says I did it in the center of the cheekbones and then, you know, up and out, which is pretty much how we apply blush now. And to be honest, I could wear this shade, just this shade. I would have been happy with just this shade if had I lived in the 1940s. I don't know. It makes me wonder, you know, obviously it would matter on my social and financial standing. There was that pan again. It comes and it goes, it comes and it goes. Anyways, obviously it would depend very much on my financial and social standing in the 1940s, whether I was in the US or Europe, like how much makeup I would have, whether it was even available to me at all. But it makes me wonder, you know, let's say I was a bougie bitch back then too, I had the money, whatever. It makes me wonder if I would have been a makeup enthusiast as I am now, or if I would have just had one of each thing like I pulled for the video today and been cool with that. Would I have stepped outside of the box as I like to do, you know, now? Okay, let's talk eyebrows. I'm also I thought this would be fun. It's kind of with the era, it's kind of whatever, but I do have a beauty mark on my face right here, and most of the time probably you guys can't even really tell on camera because I just apply foundation and powder over it, which really lightens it up quite a bit, but I kind of want to darken it today for gits and shiggles. But before we do that, let's do eyebrows. It says eyebrows were groomed to expose the natural arch and otherwise kept natural. I'm all for this. This is pretty much how I already do my brows. Now, using a pencil slightly darker than the hair, a line is drawn at the top of the brow and the hairs below are left soft. A lot of women just used petroleum jelly to smooth hairs into an arch. So I thought that was really fun and interesting. So we're going to try it their way today. I'm praying that they had spoolies back then because, well, they must have had something, you know, reminiscent to a spoolie because it says, you know, that they brushed them up with petroleum jelly, which honestly I probably would have tried, but I don't have any. I don't stock Vaseline. I figure we can just use a little clear brow gel after the line. So I'm just going to kind of speed through this, but I am going to draw the line at the top, just ever so slightly fill them in because I don't have full brows. And then we'll come back and talk about what I think while I put a little clear brow gel in. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. If I'm being honest, I definitely want to comb through the front just a little bit and soften the line. And then we'll go in with the clear brow gel. I've always been a natural brow kind of girl. Number one, I'm extremely lazy. Not really. I don't like doing my brows. I don't think there's a lot of us that do. And so, oops, we forgot to put the beauty mark back on. Hold on. Can we see it? Yes, we can. Perfect. Okay. ABH Clear Brow Gel. I'm just gonna comb things up a little bit. But I didn't even used to do anything with my eyebrows, and it kind of drove my best friend crazy. I think anyways. Back when we were teenagers, she'd be like, come here, let me do your brows. But I've always been more of a natural brow girl. I wasn't ever tempted to do like the 90s over tweezing situation, even though I was alive in that era. So anywho, okay, let's talk about my favorite subject, eyeshadow. This was very disappointing to me. Actually, I'm keen to try it and see how it looks, but it says eyeshadow was only for evening mostly and should match your eye color, not complement it, match, which means I get brown. Sometimes silver or gold were added, like for special occasions. One color of shadow from lash line to brow, which is what happens when I get carried away blending anyways. No eyeliner because it was considered to look fake until the very late 40s. So we're going to skip eyeliner today, much to my chagrin, and then we'll talk about mascara. So I thought, why not do it the way they do it? And I'm going to go back into my Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow, and I'm going to use this brown for my shadow, and then I'm going to use the highlighter, which is kind of a white gold, for the lid, just lightly, and then we'll get into mascara. I mean, this is a pretty simple look, but I have a feeling they didn't have it as simple as we do now, because like the foundation, it talks about that they did not, like, that it took a long time for them. It took a long time for them to blend that really thick mascara foundation out. Honestly, here it just looks like I took away the concealer to me. I don't know. Maybe they went in with a deeper shade that was closer to their eye. I don't think so. I really feel like this is something that I might have owned had I lived back in the 40s, this Charlotte Tilbury thingy. Which is funny, because this actual product from Charlotte Tilbury, it was designed to look like cigarette cases that women might have carried back in the 1920s, which of course was part of the draw for me, because I love vintage stuff. That's why I love the history. That's why I'm into vintage. It also said that they did sometimes match their eyeshadow to their dresses, but it was most common to use a gold or a silver, and they weren't super shiny like they were today, or like they are today. It's as much as you can get to like a brushed gold, or you know, something like that. Oh, I'm curious, have you guys, creators or not, have you ever done like a decade inspired makeup look? Halloween, office party, anything? I'm curious to know, because I don't know, I think it's fun. I've always wanted to go to a party where I would have to dress up in period clothing with period makeup and hair. I don't think my hair is overly conducive to the 1940s styles. I mean, there were definitely women that had naturally curly hair, obviously. We didn't just come and take over the earth, you know, from another planet or anything, but I think, you know, naturally curly haired women had different hairstyles slightly than non-curly girls. One of the hairdos that I found that probably is most similar to something I could do with my naturally curly hair is the one that I'm going to put up a picture of right now. I ultimately don't know what I'm going to do with my hair. Now I'm going to put the goldish highlighter from this palette on my lids. I think I'll go in with my phalange. Looks very white, so like I said, I'm going to try and like blend this out as much as possible. Well, I certainly feel better about it. Having just that light, a little bit of lightness on the lid. All right, that's it for eyeshadow. Okay, I've got to put some more blush on. I just can't do it. I'm gonna use the old phalange for this part just to build it up. I find that that's the easiest way to use these Super Shock cheeks anyway. That's better. I might need to blend that out a little bit. There it is. Whoa, my hit pan. This is in my Shop My Stash for February, and I cannot believe I hit pan on it already. But I know I'm way late to the game on this, but I love the formula of these. I don't know why people still aren't using them or talking about them. Like I said, I know it's old news. It's not a new thing by any means, but these are fantastic. They're so flattering to the skin. Let's talk mascara. It says mascara came in liquid, paste, or cake form with a small lash brush. If I can find a picture, I'll put one up of what a lash brush might have looked like back then. And then it says that lashes were on the heavier side compared to today. The other thing that I read that I thought was kind of interesting, and I'm going to take my hair down while I tell you this so it can dry a little more. It said if they were using a cake mascara, which they actually still sell one of these on the Besame website, Jamie French, I'll link it, actually did a video with a cake mascara recently, and it said in the article they would either add a few drops of water or spit. Seems a little unsanitary to me, but you know, I guess you use what you got. I don't know. For mascara, I'm going to use my CoverGirl Exhibitionist Uncensored mascara because this is very gloopy. So I'm thinking it's going to give me those thicker, heavier lashes like it says. So lips were quite possibly some of the most interesting things that I read in the article, and it says that lips were, and I think we know this, the most important part of a 1940s face of makeup. Lipstick was thought to keep spirits up during wartime. Lipstick was red, red, and red, and was always worn. Women did not leave the house. If they were of a certain social standing, financial, whatever, they always wore lipstick, and it was always red. And then generally it was matte, and it was usually blotted after each application. By 1948, lip pencils were used prior to lipstick, and the look was even on the top and bottom and was called the hunter's bow lip, a term coined by Max Factor and made popular by actress Joan Crawford. We're going to pretend we're at the end of the 40s and that we're allowed to use a lip pencil. I have a red one here, and I always use a lip liner when I'm wearing a red lip. Whew. tongue twister. Pretty, right? I'm pretty lucky that I have full lips as well as relatively even lips. And so, you know, it did say that women started to overdraw their lips at this point in order to get an even top and bottom lip. And I also found it really interesting that this lip look was called a hunter's bow lip, and we now call this area of the lip the Cupid's bow. So we're gonna blot. And there we are. All right, I'm gonna pop off over here real quick, do something with the hair that is remotely related to the 40s, add a little jewelry, and I'll be right back. Ta-da! Here I am back in the 1940s. I did deepen up my mole a little bit so you can see it better. My beauty mark, that is. That's what my grandma always used to call it, and I thought that was so cute. Maybe the brows could be a little darker, but otherwise, I'm kind of into it. These are all things I would wear. I don't normally deepen my mole, but let me know if you think I should, if it's cute, if I can rock it or not. The hairstyle that I saw with a woman of naturally curly hair had a center part there and then just kind of had it like twisted back and pinned away from her face, so that's what I went with. I have my pearl earrings on. I do have a shirt on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I did. I love stuff like this, so let me know if you would want to see more period or decade appropriate makeup in the future. I'd be happy to do some research and bring to you some more looks like this. Thank you to Anya, as always, for collaborating with me on this video every month. I'm glad to be back to it. This was really a fun way to re-inspire me to our Inspired By series. So thank you so much for watching today. I thank each and every single one of you, as always, who watch my videos. And if you did like this video while you were watching, I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up. Really helps me out here on the BeauTube. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope all your makeup days are absolutely beautiful 1940s makeup days, and I'll see you in my next video soon.